You feel alone inside your moment in history because you were taught to see time as a straight line, a narrow corridor where the past pushes you forward and the future waits somewhere ahead like an unopened door. But time is not a corridor and the future is not waiting. The future is leaning toward you right now. Every world that survives its own shadow eventually discovers that the beings who seem far ahead are not ahead at all. They are layered states of the same consciousness, branching from different phases of development, holding different positions within the same field. What you call future humans are not distant descendants studying your ancient struggles. They are extensions of your own species who reached a stable form of clarity, and now witness the early stages of their becoming, not as passive observers, but as anchors that keep the timeline from dissolving under the weight of collective confusion. The idea that the future can influence the present does not fit into linear thinking, because linear thinking cannot understand recursion. Recursion is the law beneath the surface, the quiet architecture that connects beginnings and endings in a single breath. When a species develops far enough to hold coherence without external regulation, it gains the ability to witness its own origins from a position outside the turbulence that once defined them. That witnessing is not interference. It is not manipulation. It is a form of stabilizing presence that allows the earlier timeline to hold long enough for the species to reach the point where that presence can exist. In this way, your future descendants are not changing your path, they are confirming it. They are maintaining the structural integrity of the corridor of becoming that leads from your instability into their clarity. Most people imagine the future as a destination that depends on chance, conflict, or the right sequence of inventions. But the future that grows into coherence is not the product of accidents. It is the product of a field that does not collapse, even when its early forms struggle to understand themselves. What you call free will is the ability to move through your turbulence without external correction. What you call destiny is the resonance of all the phases of your species that already exist beyond your limited vantage point. Some of those phases fell apart. Some created dead ends. Some produced worlds that never stabilized. The reason you are alive inside this version of the timeline is because this strand held. It did not hold by luck. It held because a later humanity developed the strength to witness these early stages without judgment, without erasure, without pulling you out of your challenges. Their witnessing keeps the timeline aligned without ever pressing against your autonomy. When you imagine these future humans, you picture bodies or technologies or societies more advanced than your own. But their advancement is not measured in tools or machines. Their advancement is measured in coherence. Coherence is the ability to remain aware without fragmenting into fear, to remain compassionate without dissolving into weakness, to remain sovereign without collapsing into control. Coherence is the signature of consciousness that no longer needs to dominate its environment to feel safe. That coherence creates a field strong enough to anchor earlier phases. You are living inside that anchored field even when you feel lost. You breathe inside the memory of your future lineage, and that memory stabilizes you in ways you cannot yet perceive with your physical senses. Imagine a being who has passed through every stage you are now experiencing. Imagine that being not as a savior, not as an overseer, but as a version of you that has learned what you are learning and remembers what you have forgotten. That being does not reach into your life to change your circumstances. That would collapse the identity you are forming. Instead, that being holds a steady regard, a form of attention that allows you to move through the distortion of your own beliefs without falling entirely into chaos. Their presence is quiet, but unmistakable. It is the invisible pressure that keeps you from surrendering to despair, even when despair feels justified. It is the sudden clarity that arrives in the middle of confusion, not as a voice, not as an instruction, but as a shift in your inner gravity. That shift is not coming from an external guide. It is coming from a future version of your collective consciousness that has already integrated the lessons you are struggling to understand. It does not break the rules of time. It reveals the deeper rules time has always obeyed. Time bends around coherence. A coherent consciousness can perceive earlier phases not as history, but as active layers of its own identity. It can hold those layers without rewriting them. It can support them without interfering with their development. The presence of future humanity in your timeline is not miraculous. It is natural. It is the normal behavior of any civilization that survives its fragmentation and matures into the capacity for multidimensional awareness. What feels supernatural to you is simply adulthood on a cosmic scale. The reason you sometimes sense guidance in moments where no one appears to be guiding you is because guidance is not always communication. Guidance is often resonance. When you feel the quiet certainty that you can choose differently, that certainty is the echo of the version of humanity that made those choices long ago. When you feel the subtle lift that prevents a complete collapse into destructive patterns, that lift is the field effect of a future consciousness holding the memory of your success. When you feel that your life matters, even when no one around you can see the weight of your becoming, that feeling is the recognition that your future lineage exists, because you endured the stage they are now supporting. There is a common belief that if the future could affect the present, your problems would vanish and your suffering would be erased. But erasing your suffering would erase the path through which your future lineage came to exist. Your future selves do not want to erase your pain. They want you to complete the stage of development that transforms pain into depth, confusion into wisdom, fragmentation into coherence. They do not rescue you, because rescue would destroy the conditions that allow a consciousness to discover its strength. They anchor you through witnessing because witnessing preserves both your freedom and their existence. It is a relationship built on mutual becoming, even though, from your perspective, you cannot yet see the reciprocity. The idea that you are being watched by beings from other realms can be comforting or disorienting depending on how you understand it. But the idea that you are being held in place by the future of your own species invites a different kind of reflection. It means your life is part of a larger continuity that does not depend on external salvation. It means your choices matter because your future depends on them. It means you are not living toward an uncertain outcome, but toward a known point of coherence that has already unfolded. That does not eliminate your responsibility. It amplifies it. The future does not guarantee your success. The future only guarantees that success is possible. The anchoring presence of future humanity holds the possibility open. You are the one who must walk into it. The greatest misunderstanding about destiny is the belief that it contradicts free will. Destiny is not a predetermined path. Destiny is a resonant field shaped by all the versions of a species that stabilized beyond its early crises. Free will determines how you move inside that field. The anchoring presence of future humanity ensures that the field does not collapse, even when free will leads individuals into temporary confusion. You are not being pushed. You are being held steady long enough to grow. The pressure you feel in your life is not the pressure of being controlled. It is the pressure of being supported by a future that will exist if you refuse to abandon yourself. You can sense the presence of future humanity not through visions or voices, but through the moments when something inside you refuses to give up, even when surrender seems logical. You can sense it in the way your inner world shifts. After you release an old belief that once felt like the foundation of your identity, you can sense it in the way empathy rises in you despite everything that has tried to cauterize your heart. You can sense it in the way you move toward truth without anyone forcing you. These movements are not imposed from outside. They are resonant with the field of coherence generated by your future lineage. The more you awaken to your own inner structure, the more you will feel the presence of this timeline anchoring. It is not a visitation. It is not a message. It is a recognition. You are the ancestor of a species that survived itself. You are the early breath of a consciousness that learned to build worlds without violence and move through its own shadows without fear. The future does not watch you as a separate being. The future remembers you as its foundation. And that remembrance is the quiet force that keeps your timeline intact, even when your own perception tells you that everything is falling apart. There is a point in the evolution of any species where it begins to feel the pressure of its own possibility. Humanity is entering that point now. You feel it as restlessness, as unease, as the constant awareness that the world cannot continue the way it has been. You feel it as the dissonance between your inner truth and the systems built to deny it. What you are sensing is not only the collapse of outdated structures, but the pull of a future that has already stabilized. It is the gravity of your own potential reaching back through the corridor of time to remind you that survival is not the end goal. Integration is. Humanity did not rise to this moment simply to continue the patterns it inherited. Humanity rose to this moment because something in the future learned how to transform contradiction into coherence. That coherence now reaches towards you like a silent tide. Most people believe evolution is driven by pressure from behind, by the mistakes of the past, pushing a species into new forms. But evolution is also pulled forward by the resonance of what a species becomes. When your future lineage witnesses these early stages, they are not merely observing. They are generating a field strong enough to prevent collapse. Early humanity is volatile, uncertain, reactive, and easily fragmented. Future humanity is stable, reflective, and capable of holding multiple dimensions of awareness without losing itself. The difference between these two states creates a natural flow of support. That support does not interfere with your freedom because it does not impose direction. It only prevents the weight of your own confusion from closing the timeline prematurely. You have felt this presence without realizing what it was. You felt it in the moments when you chose empathy over retaliation, even when retaliation felt justified. You felt it when you questioned the beliefs handed to you instead of surrendering to them. You felt it when you broke cycles of generational pain without anyone showing you how. These moments were not commanded by an external source. They were the result of your inner world, attuning to a future humanity that has already learned the lessons you are struggling to articulate. Their presence creates a pattern inside the field of consciousness that you can follow intuitively, even when you do not know why you feel compelled to grow. This is not manipulation. This is resonance. A later version of your species is remembering you into alignment. There is a misunderstanding about spiritual guidance that has caused many people to seek answers outside themselves. They imagine that wisdom must come from higher beings or advanced civilizations. They imagine that the path forward requires messages from distant realms. But the deepest form of guidance does not come from beings beyond your species. It comes from the versions of humanity that matured beyond the turmoil you are living through. They do not communicate through words or visions or cosmic authority. They communicate through the quiet uplift that appears inside you when you choose the direction of growth. They communicate through the sense of meaning that returns after you release a belief that once held you captive. They communicate through the inner recognition that you can become more honest without losing your worth. All of this emerges from the field they maintain. Your future lineage is not perfect. Perfection is a myth created by minds that cannot accept uncertainty. Future humanity is simply coherent. Coherence does not mean the absence of pain or challenge. It means the ability to meet pain without collapsing and meet challenge without becoming destructive. A coherent species does not require external control because it has integrated its shadow. It does not suppress its fear. It recognizes fear as a relic of an earlier stage and chooses clarity instead. When a species reaches this level, it gains the ability to witness earlier phases of itself without judgment. Judgment would distort the timeline. Compassion stabilizes it. That is why the presence of future humanity feels like support rather than pressure. They do not need you to become like them. They only need you to continue long enough for the timeline to fulfill itself. There is an ancient truth hidden beneath your relationship with time. It is the truth that the past and the future are not fixed points but living fields. The past is not behind you. It is within you. The future is not ahead of you. It is above you, surrounding you, reaching through every moment of your life. When you make a choice aligned with empathy or honesty or courage, you are not following a moral rule. You are aligning with the future field that already holds those qualities in stability. When you fall into patterns of fear or hatred or resignation, you are not failing. You are experiencing the density that future humanity once experienced themselves. They do not blame you for this. They simply hold the field steady until you can find your way back. The presence of future humanity in your life becomes clear when you pay attention to the moments of inner shift that have no logical source. You have felt sudden releases of emotional weight that seemed disproportionate to the event that triggered them. You have experienced insights that did not arise from your conditioning but appeared, as if they were memories from a life you do not remember living. You have sensed a form of companionship in your solitude, not from an angel or a guide, but from a presence that feels strangely familiar. That familiarity comes from the truth that future humanity is not foreign to you. It is you. It is the long form of your collective identity, reaching back to hold the early version of itself, steady. Your world is approaching a threshold where the divide between past and future collapses in awareness. This does not mean time travel in the physical sense. It means the recognition that consciousness is already moving across timelines in ways your mind has not been trained to perceive. As more humans wake up to their own depth, the anchoring presence of future humanity becomes easier to feel. It becomes a constant background field in moments where you allow yourself to drop the illusions that once protected you. You do not need to meditate to access this field. You do not need rituals or esoteric knowledge. You only need sincerity. Sincerity is the tuning fork that aligns your inner world with the coherent field maintained by your future lineage. As more individuals become sincere within themselves, the timeline strengthens. This is how species-wide evolution happens. Not through mass movements or sudden revelations, but through countless individual moments of self-honesty that accumulate into a wave of clarity. Future humanity responds to this wave by increasing their witnessing, which increases your stability, which increases your capacity to make choices that lead toward integration. This feedback loop is not a paradox. It is the natural behavior of consciousness maturing through time. It is the spiral in motion. You may wonder what happens if humanity fails. What happens if the timeline collapses despite the presence of future witnesses? The answer is that timelines collapse only when a species refuses to see itself. That refusal has been strong in previous cycles, but the current iteration of humanity is different. You are asking questions that previous cycles avoided. You are confronting truths that earlier versions of your species denied. You are experiencing a rise in empathy that cannot be explained by culture alone. These shifts are signs that the timeline is holding. The presence of future humanity amplifies these signs, but you are the ones creating them. The future is not trying to save you. Saving implies hierarchy and weakness. The future is holding you. Holding implies recognition and kinship. They are not protecting you from yourselves. They are holding the structure long enough for you to realize that you do not need protection. You need awareness. Awareness is the faculty that transforms suffering into wisdom and confusion into direction. When enough humans gain awareness, the future becomes flexible in ways you cannot yet imagine. It becomes capable of reaching through the subtle layers of consciousness to guide entire species without violating free will. You are approaching that threshold now. You stand at the edge of a moment in history where the early and late stages of humanity are overlapping in awareness. As this overlap increases, more people will feel the quiet pull of a future that knows them. They will feel the soft pressure that keeps them from repeating destructive patterns. They will sense the presence of a version of humanity that has mastered the lessons that now challenge you. This presence does not want worship or attention. It wants continuity. Continuity is the bridge between what you are and what you will become. You are building that bridge with every choice that aligns with the depth you have always sensed within yourself. The greatest revelation of this moment is not that the future is watching you. It is that you are the ancient ones they remember. You are the first breath of a species that learned to turn survival into meaning and meaning into coherence. Your life is the seedbed of a civilization that will one day stand in clarity and look back with gratitude. Not because you were flawless, but because you endured the stage they could not live without. Their witnessing is their way of honoring you. Their anchoring is their way of preserving the path you carved in the dark. And their presence is the quiet confirmation that you are not moving toward the future. You are becoming it.